Let's go. Day one on the new program. Ladies and gentlemen and everything in between, we are so back. Apologies for the delay. We have had a busy last 2 weeks. We were in Hawaii for 10 days. It was an absolutely beautiful trip. I literally have been telling everybody, like, Hawaii doesn't make sense. It's like a glitch in the simulation. Like, everything you see there is almost too perfect and too beautiful, and it's like you almost can't appreciate how beautiful everything individually is because everything around it is so beautiful. From the animals to the water to the beaches to the rainforests that we were exploring there, it was actually unbelievable. And it was like everything was too perfect. It was like any single one of those things brought to the mainland or brought to Minnesota would be like in and of itself a national treasure, and they have everything there is a national treasure. So it was like you almost couldn't appreciate it the way that you needed to appreciate every single small thing because everything there was beautiful. It was like a botanical garden everywhere. It was so cool and such a peaceful reset, and I'm excited to get back after things here. We had a 17-hour plane ride back, and as soon as we landed, we headed straight to Gilman Days for a softball tournament. We actually had 2 softball tournaments this weekend. I played in one in the cities on Friday night and Saturday morning, and then booked it to our first game, Gilman Days, Saturday night. So as soon as we got off the plane, we were 10 games of softball deep, and the swing was absolutely cooked. I could not believe it. The swing was as dialed as it was. I think we were like 28 for 33 this weekend, but my God, is the body absolutely in shambles right now. And to make matters even worse, the first day I got to sleep in my bed since being in Hawaii. We were sleeping on an air mattress with no AC. The power goes out here in Minnesota last night. Anybody in Minnesota, it was an absolute disaster. There's trees everywhere. But we had our power out from like 7 p.m. until noon today. So slept like shit because I had no fan on last night. It was like 90 degrees in our basement. My roommates live upstairs and they had to go down and sleep on the couch together because it was that gross and sweaty and muggy in our house. But all that to be said, the body's a little bit in shambles. But I'm pumped to be back and making content and ready to start day one of a brand new program here. The base template of this program is from a coach that I follow. Still trying to get his permission if he wants me to share his stuff here, like we did with K-Dots, and still working out the kinks there. But anyways, the base template of the program, all I'm basically taking from that program is the Olympic stuff. And I'm going to start adding in. I'm going to give myself a little bit more creative freedom on this program to start adding in a lot of the movements that I would normally train and got away from a little bit just following a K-Dot program. Specifically with the spinal stuff, I felt like I've been straight nosing the Olympic lifting stuff, and the body's been feeling a little bit beat up. And none of that is K-Dot's fault in his programming at all. I just was sending it a little bit too hard with everything that I've been doing, both in life and in training, and not taking care of some of the smaller pieces in the training in of itself and a lot of the recovery pieces of sleep and just stress outside. I move in 5 days. I've been traveling all over the place. So it's been a little bit of a shit show, but excited to get back into it and start programming and trying the things that I've been thinking about trying. So that's what the next 3 months of this program is going to be, the base templates of this guy's program that I'm trying for the Olympic lifts. And I just want to learn a little bit more about Oli lifting. I would have stayed on K-Dot's program for a long, long time if I was just going for performance and trying to max out my snatch and clean, which I still am. I'm still trying to do that. But while I do this, I really just want to try it. A bunch of coaches' programs, and it gives me a really good excuse to do that, and I haven't really explored Olympic lifting programs all that much since high school, so it's kind of going to be a fun little experiment. But with this program, I'm going to give myself a little bit more of the creative freedom to also program the things that I think I want to do, and just being a little bit more lenient and creative with some of the accessory works and fun movement challenges that I want to do. So that's the gist of it. Here's the workout today. We got snatches into a low hang snatch, 3 sets of 1+1 at 185 to 200 pounds. And we got squats, 3 sets of 3 at 385 pounds. Then we got lateral overhead GHRs, 3 sets of 6, and a back extension, 3 sets of 8, just really trying to take care of that spinal flow. Then we end with some deficit snatch deadlifts, 3 sets of 3 at 265 pounds, or 105% of the snatch. And it should be a pretty sickening day. We were supposed to jump and sprint today as well and add those into the program. But after 10 games of softball and playing outfield this weekend, the hamstrings feel like they're going to snap on me. So we're going to save that for tomorrow, and we're just going to get after Olis today. Let's do it. All right, so to add on to the bitch fest, I forgot to mention, I dove for a softball yesterday, made a sickening play on it, but when I dove, I fucking extended and drove that shoulder into the ground, and that AC joint is pretty fucking flared up right now. I did a bunch of hangs and a bunch of banded dislocates to warm it up. There's just a little bit of pain there. It's nothing serious, but just to add on to the things of how the body is fucking destroyed right now. That left shoulder feels like I fucking got trucked in football. It wasn't even the worst part about the fall. I dove for that ball, caught that ball, hit the shoulder, and just fucking clonked my head on the ground. I literally felt like I was in a football collision again, where you get up and you're like, holy fuck, what the hell happened? I just threw the ball into second base and was hoping that I threw it in the right direction and not over the fence. But we were seeing some motherfucking stars there. but maybe the CTE will help these snatches a little bit. We're gonna hit these warm-ups here, building up to 185. We got 3 sets of 1+1 at this snatch into the low hang snatch. We'll keep ripping sets until we're at the working weight, and then we'll see how heavy we go on those working weights. We're supposed to stay at 185 to 205-ish here on these snatches, and we're gonna see how these feel today. Let's go. All right, first working set here. Those warm-ups actually felt pretty snappy and like I was really connected to the bar, which I like the feel of. Obviously, it's a little bit lighter weight, but just that feel with the bar was so much nicer than what it's been recently. And a lot of times, even with the swing, where I just take a little bit of a break and I come back to a thing that I've been working on, a lot of times that allows you to get out of some ruts that you're in and just the overthinking aspect of things. But right now, I'm just thinking about keeping that bar vertical and getting it straight up rather than humping it. We're still humping it a little bit, but that's the key right now. It's been feeling really, really connected. We got our first working set here. We got 3 total sets, 185, probably 195, and then we'll finish up at 205 and see how that feels. And we'll rip from here. Let's get it. Oh yeah. Woo! So I haven't looked at everything in this program yet and like looked weeks in advance at all, but I know the biggest difference between this program and KDOT's program is with KDOT's program, we were going 4 days with 3 days of ollies. 1 day was an upper body day with some upper body mobility stuff. We'll work on a snatch. And it was kind of a condensed 3 days. And then get after it 3 days of Olympic lifts, which I honestly really, really liked with where I was at in the softball season especially. And I told KDOT I kind of was only gonna be able to get after Olympic lifts 3 days a week. But this program is 5 days a week, much more bare bones in the Olympic lifting sense. KDOT's program was, he programmed much more like I program, and I think he was programming for me too, of like the Olympic lifting athletes, and we were jumping, we were sprinting, we were doing all those things included in the program. Whereas this one's much more of a bare bones, nuts and bolts, 5 days a week, snatch, clean, squat, deadlift type program. A little bit more microdose on the days. We're not absolutely killing ourselves every single day. And that part of the program is gonna be absolutely money just to like have that made. And when it gets to the nuts and bolts, I just show up and do the percentages that I'm given. And I think that'll give me the cool, fun freedom to program the athletic stuff that I wanna program, just because this program's not built around athletes at all. I shouldn't say not athletes, but not non-Olympic lifting athletes. It's there strictly to drive up the Olympic lifting stuff. And I'm excited for that part of it. But we're gonna see how that 5 days a week of Olympic lifting feels and how the body handles it. I'm kind of excited for it. I might regret those words. I might have to drop down to 3 to 4 days a week like we did before, but looking at the program, it seems pretty base measurements, and it's gonna give me a lot more reps and volumes at these Olympic lifts, which is something that I desperately need right now when it comes to ingraining and getting better at the technique. I know Dozier talks about that a lot, of like if you wanna catch up with Olympic lifting, especially if at a late start, you really have to be doing the Olympic lifts 5 to 7 days a week and touching on them every single day. And I kind of like that philosophy. It's the same thing I use with softball. Like if you want to get better at softball, hit 100 balls off a tee a day. Hit 100 balls a day. Obviously, you can't do 100 snatches a day. But with that microdose approach and that frequency approach, you can get a ton of volume done throughout the week and just a ton of reps at the skill that you want to get better at. And I think that's truly one of the best ways to do it. So let's get the second set here and let's go. Let's go. All right, set number 3 here at 205. These are going significantly better than I predicted based off how the body was feeling going into today. So let's rip this and end on a good snatch day and hit all of our sets when I was predicting to hit 0 sets. Let's go. Fuck, that got heavy. Holy shit. All right, now we got 3 sets of 3 at these squats here. It's supposed to be 85% of my 1 rep max, which is like probably 450, 460-ish right now. We're gonna see how the back's feeling. And we're gonna hit 3 sets of 3 clean squats. If that's not at 85%, that's okay. But I gotta ask the question, one guy out of 40 hurt his hamstring sprinting, has me questioning in the entire program I wrote, is this normal, question mark? And unfortunately, when it comes to injuries like this, especially in sprinting, when you have large groups of athletes and you're working with a large volume of athletes, you're going to have injuries. You can have the most perfect program in the world and you're going to have injuries. Any coach that tells you they never have injuries either doesn't train athletes in person or enough athletes in person, or they're selling some bullshit. They're selling some GOTA bullshit or some ATG bullshit, where as soon as that athlete does get hurt on their program or does get hurt while following their program, take away any ownership of that athlete being hurt from the program and they claim that it was something else and not their program and the reasoning that caused it. I honestly don't believe there's that much fault in that logic and even in that philosophy, because even if you do have the most perfect program, you are with athletes for 1 to 2 hours a day. They have 23 to 22 hours to completely fuck up what you're doing. And that's usually only for 4 days a week. They have 3 full days by themselves. 3 full 24 hours to fuck it up. And if you work with any high school or college athlete, you know they're gonna fuck that up. So even if you have the most perfect program, an athlete can get hurt on that program. I just dislike the go to ATG scam where they claim that it has nothing to do with the program and they take all the ownership when the athlete has success and none of the ownership when that athlete gets hurt. And even to the coach that wrote this question, it's not to negate blame on your program of why that athlete got hurt. There can always be things you do better as a coach and things you change or things you could have noticed or ways you could have auto-regulated for that athlete that day. Maybe they did totally fuck up your program and they walked in after drinking all the night before, and then instead of just cutting them that day or having that conversation with them that day, you just have them in that group of 40 athletes and you didn't even notice it. And there can be ownership there as a coach. And especially if these injuries are continually happening or happening more often than you would like, then there probably is something with your program that you can change. But every coach that has worked with a solid number of athletes has an athlete get hurt either on the program or in some freak way. Again, the biggest injury we've ever had at our gym was an athlete tripping on the stairs and breaking both of his front teeth out. You program everything right and you can't fucking predict that that's going to happen. So as a coach, you really have to find the balance of taking ownership of what could you have changed, what could you have done differently, what could you have noticed, what conversations could you have had with that athlete, how could you have auto-regulated with that athlete, while also understanding that ownership also applies in a two-way street to that athlete himself, and having that conversation to see maybe what was going on, why were they getting hurt, what were they doing leading up to that, and all these data points are going to allow you to continually to morph and evolve your program so that this happens way less frequently without losing faith in your program and without getting caught up in some of the bullshit. I just know a lot of coaches that have solid programming philosophies and a really good program in general, and then they have an athlete get hurt or not succeed that the way they want to succeed, and then they start drinking the Kool-Aid of something like GOATA, drinking the Kool-Aid of some bullshit coach that's selling them something that is just not real life, and then they get away from solid programming. So you really have to find that balance as a coach, but just don't lose faith in solid programming. Don't lose faith in all the data points of the 39 athletes that you're working with that got really, really good results, and probably that 40th athlete that was getting really good results and then maybe had a freak injury that happened that day. And if you do dive through all those data points and you do take ownership and you do realize there was something in your programming change that one thing about your program, change that one piece of your program, change that one thing about how you coach that athlete or how you coach the technique of the lift or how you program that volume or intensity for that athlete that day or that week or in that cycle. Don't change everything about your program. I think a lot of times we can throw the baby out with the bathwater instead of finding a little bit more of a middle ground there and realizing freak incidents happen. Athletes are humans and they fuck up their recovery just like all of us do as coaches. And that even if you do have the perfect program, stuff like that does happen. And a lot of times you don't have the perfect program and there are things you can improve upon, but you don't need to throw everything out there, right? So let's get to these squats. Let's go.
Holy fuck.
All right, this is gonna be our first working set. We're probably gonna stay at 365 for all these sets, unless it's really feeling cool. That 315 was already fucking heavy. My legs are fucking shot. My back is not feeling solid right now after all the travel and softball we've had the last couple days. But on the note of athletes getting injured, I also think it's worth mentioning you have to look at the population of athletes that you're working with and their goals. And not even population of athletes, but population of clientele in general. You're working with a general pop 40-year-old Susan mom who just wants to feel better and look better. You should never get that athlete injured. You should never get that client injured. And you should never really even come close. That is not a client that needs to push boundaries or do anything extreme that would lead to anything where there's even like a chance of injury when you're working with that clientele. And I think a lot of the messages that we hear from coaches about the best abilities, availability comes from Division I coaches and NFL coaches and professional coaches working with absolute specimens that have a massive foundation of movements and abilities and are already getting paid to play, already have scholarships, are already starting. And with those athletes, if you get those athletes hurt, you should get fired, especially in your training. That athlete's scholarship and that athlete's contract is probably worth more than you are, worth more than I am, worth more than most coaches that work with these athletes is. And they're already good enough. That's why they're getting paid. And whether it was genetics or the program that was built to get them there, even when you hear about these NFL players, you never hear about an NFL player that was training conservatively the entire time they were growing up to get to the league. Once they get to the league, it's all about staying alive and staying in the league, and they're already good enough physically and at football to do what they need to do, and they don't need to develop that much more. And I think a lot of times we get our messages from those type of coaches that are working with a specific type of clientele, and then you work with these high schoolers or these non-starting college guys, these non-scholarship guys that do need a little bit more of an extreme program, that do need to develop physically, that do need to push the boundaries of their body physically. And again, I'm not saying push it to the point of injury, but when you do push things, when you are trying to develop these qualities, there is a risk, because the only way to develop these qualities is producing a massive amount of stress to the body that the body's not used to, so that it adapts and changes. And obviously there's really good ways to do this and really stupid ways to do this, but that clientele is so much different than the clientele that's getting paid millions or has a full ride scholarship already, which I think the best ability of it is availability message comes from a lot of the times. The best ability is not availability for a fifth string college player. You keep them available and you keep them healthy the whole time, they stay a fifth string college player unless a lot of bad things happen. With those clients that really want to reach the next level, they have to take bigger risks. They have to train harder. They have to do things that all these other athletes, whether it was genetically or luck, or they're just at a point in their career where they're just already starting, they already have these qualities, don't have to do. So I think it is worth mentioning and thinking about the clientele that you're working with when you're thinking about this stuff. And it does need to affect your programming and how you train these athletes. $1 million athlete is much different than a high school athlete that's just pushing to try and start their senior year on the football team. And the risk and programming that you have for those athletes need to be much different. And I think that's common sense that a lot of coaches will argue, because it sounds better to say that they never got an athlete hurt, or it sounds better to say the best ability is availability, and it makes them sound virtuous. Really, I think it turns into just saving your own skin as a coach and keeping that athlete back and letting the successful athletes succeed, and the athletes that are looking to make that jump staying where they're at. And just coming from the fifth string fullback that I was my first year at St. Thomas, if I had a coach like that was telling me just stay healthy, all you had to do is train to stay healthy, I would be pissed the entire time I was training, because staying healthy wasn't my issue. My issue was I was bad at football and not physically developed enough to succeed on the football field the way that I needed to. So my goal wasn't to stay on the field, my goal was to get on the field, and those are much different goals. And the programming does have to be a little bit different when it gets to that point. So just something worth mentioning, something that I thought about when thinking about this rant that I don't think is talked about enough in the strength conditioning field, but understanding the clientele that you're looking at in front of you differs vastly from coach to coach. And even the same coaches can have different athletes within that population that need to be trained differently. So let's get after this set. Let's go. We got 3 sets of 3 here. Let's go. We got our third set here. The legs are fucking on fire. After this third set, we got snatch grip deadlifts, 3 sets of 3, along with our spinal care stuff. We're gonna superset it all together, show it all to you. Get in, get out, get after, and get some work done. Let's fucking go. Oh yeah, let's go. Woo! All right, so for the final superset here, we got 3 sets of 3 at 105% of our snatch for these snatch grip deadlifts. We got 3 sets of 6 of these lateral side bends. I'm gonna show you those. They're one of the nastiest side body openers there is. It's fucking me up right now. And then we got 3 sets of 8 back extensions. Kind of pairing that all together just to speed up the workout a little bit and add a little bit of expansive type work to our compression work that we got going here. My legs are fucked from those squats already. The ending of this video, by the time I'm done walking, is gonna look like it's a BBC Arkwed advertisement, bro. Like, my legs are absolutely jacked up. So let's get through these snatch deadlifts and hope we can walk tomorrow. Let's get it. Oof. Woo. All right, set number 2 here on these poles. Then we're gonna record spinal work, then we'll hit set number 3. Get in, get out. Good little day. Let's go. All right, so So the first thing we got in this final series are these overhead lateral GHR side bends. When you're starting with the side bend journey, there are so many modifications that you can do. You can obviously take away weight, start using the body weight, and just get used to side bending, right? But then not only can you add weight to these movements, you can add leverage to these movements. So typically our progression on a lot of these side bend stuff, especially in the GHR, is we're gonna start arms crossed with no weight, and build that up till the athlete feels proficient in that. After arms crossed with no weight, instead of just adding weight to that arm cross movement, we're gonna them leverage and keep those hands overhead with no weight, and then create a little bit of a longer lever point there, and have them side bend through that motion. Then we'll bring them back to those arms cross movement, and we'll add weight with that arms cross movement once they feel strong and powerful there. Then we'll add weight to this overhead movement. So this is kind of the last progression of this movement. It doesn't take super long to progress to these movements once you get your athletes used to bending their spine, but it is worth using the progression. If you don't have a GHR, you can do all of this stuff on a bench with a partner holding your feet or strapping your feet in. I don't really love the strapping the feet in, but I've done it before. You can also lock your feet in with a barbell, so you can face the barbell the opposite way, put enough weight on to where it's not pulling up, move the rack down low, lay on the bench, put your feet underneath the barbell, and you're pulling against the barbell just like you would there. You put your feet underneath the barbell, lean on that bench, then we come back up. So there's plenty of ways to do this without the GHR. I have a lot of athletes ask, what if I don't have a GHR? There's so many solutions there to do this with. And you do the same thing with the back extension. It's not as effective with the back extensions because you don't have enough range of motion. You have to elevate the bench a little bit more. But there's a lot of gyms with back extension machines and not GHR machines for the side bench. So I definitely recommend that a little bit more for the GHR side bend substitute is to use the bench with the rack in there, or just have a partner sit on your feet while you're hitting these side bend motions. But we're locking our feet in here, top foot in the rollers here, bottom foot hooked. Then we're getting in this nice lengthened position. My whole goal is to get my arms straight above my head and feel that stretch all the way from the lats into those obliques, into that hip. Absolute moneymaker. We got 6 each side here. Let's go. Oh my God, those are absolutely fucking nasty. Let's hit the other side. Ooh, fuck yeah, let's get some back extensions. All right. Then we just got basic ass back extensions here. Most primal of all the spinal movements. We're just gonna hug 2 heavy plates here, rip sets of 8, and leave feeling with a sickening back pump. Let's get it. Let's get a last set of snatch deadlifts. Let's get out of here. All right, last set of these snatch grip deadlifts. Let's rip. Oof. Oof. Let's go. Day 1 of the new program. Feeling pretty solid. Gonna be sore as fuck tomorrow, but we're gonna get after it. Let's go. Appreciate you guys watching. Keep chopping wood.